successful people have read it. How did you become financially independent? I saved in my 20s. I had fun doing local things. Local music festivals, staycations, and etc. Nothing crazy. Paid off student loans. Bought a cheapish car. Late 20s and 30s everything clicked. Equity. Whether it's in owning part of the company via partnership or options, owning rental properties or simply investing strategically and consistently, I believe owning equity is the difference maker. I think of it as if each equity tranche is like an additional worker trying to make you money. You set them up with their job, and each month the equity/asset turns in a modest sum or appreciates. Then you use the modest sums to buy more of these equity workers, and one day all those modest sums mean you no longer have to work. I own a rental property and looking to obtain more. That's my retirement. That said, I've worked with my tenant on what they can budget and we've found a solution. I break even plus $100 a month. That extra $100 goes into a savings account for emergency repairs for that house. My profit isn't in the monthly rent, it's in my equity. My tenant is unable to purchase a home at this time and needed a place ASAP for their family. When they're ready to purchase, I will be happy to help them. I'm a realtor and home builder. People owning homes and building equity through something they need, shelter, is huge and helps our economy. The rental market will always be needed, in a perfect world, primarily for younger or much older adults. Greed destroys communities, and I'll do everything I can to help my tenants become homeowners, as that helps the community and thus also my business. Greed doesn't think big picture. Small business. I'm listening to Teddy Roosevelt's autobiography, and that guy was so pro-small business. He was one of the last true Republicans. Like Lincoln and U.S. Grant, they're rolling in their graves seeing their party these last 60 years. I'm not financially independent to the point that I don't have to work, but I am successful enough that I don't worry about money, all while earning about the average salary for the U.S. I did it by budgeting and planning, living within my means, avoiding debt, and investing. I worked my way through college, so I have no school debt. In addition to earning a couple of high-profile credentials from my field, I've changed jobs every 2 to 4 years. I started full-time in 2013 making $52,000 per year. Just started a new job making $140,000 per year plus stocks plus signing bonus plus guaranteed bonuses twice a year, all while working about 30 hours a week. Don't get me wrong, it was a grind to get to this point, and I am super thankful that my hard work and dedication actually paid off. My wife and I are not wealthy, but by being smart about our cash, we have managed to have zero debt, adopt 2 children from Korea, invest in retirement at least somewhat aggressively. I am 43 and will retire at 53. How did we do it on a teacher salary and my wife's middle-class salary? We paid off debts quickly and aggressively, learned to be content with what we have, and avoided big luxury items. I won't be a millionaire when I retire. Wait, I might kind of be in terms of total assets, but in terms of income, I won't be. I'll have enough to live a middle-class life without a full-time job. Live with my parents post-high school. Went to community college, which parents paid for science-based degree. Transferred to State University for Chemie, got an internship at a refinery and worked full-time there. They offered tuition assistance for 80% of the tuition for K/semester. Moved out around this time and finished degree, hired on to refinery engineer role for a year, jumped ship to another company every 3 years. Married another engineer. I've been maxing out my 401k for about 8 years, tried as much as I could to live well beneath my means. Bought a cheap house for $100k when I graduated, used truck which I still drive. I was very lucky to have supportive parents and also very lucky to land the job I got. It was completely by chance. Then lucky to be successful professionally. Lots of luck. Hoping to retire by 45, wife will be 40. I don't know about successfully, but we are financially reasonably secure as a result of being able to rely on others 5 years ago. I was able to move into a higher paying job by moving back in with my parents, and that also meant my outgoings dropped, and I could save up enough to get secure, wait while my experience and salary increased, allow my husband to find work, and keep saving until I could be independent again. So there's no trick, it's all about luck and circumstance. Got an engineering degree, paid off my student loans while learning the stock market and investing what I could. Did okay until I invested a considerable sum, for me at the time, into Tesla back when it was $80 pre-split. Still riding the majority of it, though I've diversified the gains some and have taken some profits. It's been quite the ride. I did get some help from my parents to get through school and am not ashamed to admit it. I doubt I would have completed my degree if I had to work full-time simultaneously. I got to where I am with a bit of luck and a lot of support. Step 1. Live beneath your means. When I started out, my income covered me, my wife and soon 2 children. This income was well below the median household income. We lived beneath our income by buying a house in the inner city and spending my free time fixing it up. I never owned a new car until I was past the age of 40. Step 2. Don't go into debt. I had a little student loan debt which I quickly paid off. Outside of that, in the house, I never paid a penny of interest. Step 3. Put 15% into a 401k. Step 4. Pay off the house quickly. Step 5. We graduated from the first house and used that money to buy a nicer house in the suburbs. We paid that off inside of 8 years as well. During all these steps, I invested in myself, furthering education and throwing myself into work. I was always there for my family, but we never owned a TV as I know it is a time sink and mostly a waste of time. I did get my master's degree. I got certifications. And I got promotions pretty quickly. Now, some of you may recognize this as Dave Ramsey's plan, and it is very, very similar, but I had not heard of the man when I started on this path 20 years ago. But the fact that he says almost the same thing means there's something to it. I do not agree with some of his advice. For example, I am 100% in index funds because I don't believe fund managers can beat the market without undue risk, but his baby step plan is reasonable, though I feel for lower income folks who will obviously struggle here, as at one point I was in that lower income. Time. Timing. Hard work. Inversion thinking. Luck. And keeping shit fucking simple. My wife and I were on food stamps 17 years ago. Now we have 3 businesses, 500 employees, and do a few $100 million in revenue. We started with Dave Ramsey and made sure we were debt-free. Then we saved every penny and invested, snowballed the investments, had a few good businesses that exploded. We got lucky that the last 11 years have been the best bull market in history of mankind. We were lucky enough to ride the wave and not take a lot of risks. Got to diversify into real estate and exploded our net worth, learned the BRR method. Time and patience. You don't have to do shit great. Just don't be greedy and do stupid shit. Save 20 to 30% on your income, invest wisely. It's tough, but it's not complex. Money is not a mental game, it's a character game. You need to have the stomach for it. Strict financial budgeting. You have to know where your money is going each and every month. Even wealthy people I know still don't do this, but it's a great way to build discipline, and it's nice seeing how much money you're saving. If you think it's too hard, it's not. Do it on a yellow pad. $X on groceries, $X on fun things, etc. You can make great money, but if you're spending it all every month, you're still broke. I don't use any fancy apps or programs, just Google Sheets. I calculate my daily post-tax income, multiply it by the number of days each month, and write down what I expect to save. I have the following categories: rent/utilities/insurance, eating out/going out, personal, any random purchases, repairs, etc., groceries, gas, and investments. I have a formula in the spreadsheet that adds all these and then subtracts it from my total income. I know exactly how much I'm saving and investing each month with this. It's crazy how 2 to 3 trips to the bar can take up your entire going out budget. Started saving aggressively around 20% of my income since day one when I was 22. First job out of university. I wasn't making much the first few years, so just lived in very cheap apartments in less desirable areas and not spending much on food. No takeout ever, obviously. I moved up finding better jobs, bought a home, but the important thing I think is that I continued to invest 20% of my take-home pay. I'm 49 now and could retire today, but I'm enjoying my job and can afford to spend pretty much anything on my allotted 4 weeks vacation per year. I worked lots of hours. I focused on projects that were important to the company. I treated everyone with respect. I saved my money by creating a budget and sticking to it. I lived like a pauper in my 20s. I didn't have a fancy car. I usually lived with roommates, sometimes 5. When I could afford to get fancy, I didn't. I kept it real. After saving the equivalent of 6 months' income, one started investing in safe investments. Nothing risky and always thinking long-term, never short-term. My relationships are always based on like-minded values more so than good looks. But let's be honest, physical attraction does matter. But if that rose spends all your money, it loses its fragrance. I never burned a bridge. If I really didn't like a job, I still put in 100% and smiled. But I also looked for another job. I always gave a little bit more than the standard notice. The time to start spending on yourself is when you spend money on your family. Husband is a lawyer who had all his schooling paid by his dad, who is also a lawyer. To be fair, he had mostly highly reduced tuition because of good test scores. Then he went to work for his dad in the firm bearing the family name. He currently earns $220,000 per year, which isn't the highest range for a lawyer. But he works 4 to 5 hours a day and spends time doing what he loves. I'm an interior designer. It took me 7 years to get a 4-year BFA. I didn't want to take on debt because there are no guarantees of high income in my field. I worked all day, took classes in evenings, and do homework all night. Also didn't have kids until I finished. I worked for a few firms for around 7 years. When I left 4 years ago, I was earning $24 per hour, which was basically robbery considering how much work I was doing for my boss. I started working on my own and teaching my skills in adult trade school on the side. Right now, I teach in 3 different trade schools. I get $90 per hour teaching. It's few hours and seasonal, totals $40,000 per year. I started writing for a women's magazine. Now I earn $15,000 per year doing that. In my work as a designer, I charge $120 per hour. I only take on small jobs here and there, because the larger jobs tend to take over my life and I want to be around while my kids grow up. I earn around $30,000 per year from interior design. If my husband wasn't earning well, I would not have had the security to leave my badly paid job. Luck. Did tech support for a year when the manager over QA wanted me on his team. Well, he found a new job which expedited me moving over. Next year, after basically just getting trained, I found another QA job that was paying more. 8 months at that job, my team lead finds another job. Another member of the team goes on maternity leave, so she can't take the spot. Another member takes a position in a different department. I get it by default. A few years pass, another lead takes a different position, so I take over his folks. Finally, last year, current director is fired. New guy takes over and gets me an assistant director position. Ultimately, yeah, I wasn't a trash employee, but I was basically in the right place in the right time in almost every situation where a promotion was possible. I went from $12 an hour answering phones to 6 figures in 8 years. I absolutely do not want to go any higher on the corporate ladder at this point though, because I sure hate managing people. Answer is, don't buy stuff. Character arc. You spend a lot of time and energy telling yourself you can't afford something because you need to save money. Then one day you hit your target. You keep saving money for a while just in case. Eventually you have more than you need. By that point, you realize that you don't even want to buy a lot of the stuff that you used to restrain yourself from buying. Epilogue, I quit my job and then partied all the time. The hedonism got old. In addition to partying, I filled my time with hobbies that I love. It's definitely better than working full-time, but still not enough to satisfy the human condition. It's a bit lonely being retired when other people your age are all busy working. Now I'm looking for some kind of part-time work that can help me feel more of a sense of purpose. I also miss the social status from my prior job, the competitive atmosphere, and being part of a community of smart people. There's no such thing as a perfect life, but for most people I think that working hard to save up enough money to switch from full-time to part-time work would be a more enjoyable plan than going from full-time to early retirement. Thanks for watching and being on the road to Reddit Millionaire with us. So, how do you plan to become financially independent? Let us know. Until next one.